Welcome to Stand-Up Poetry. My name is Jack McCarthy, and I am your stand-up poetry guy. Today's feature is Rachel Hyman, a recent magna cum laude graduate from Boston University. I first met Rachel at our poetic home base, the Cantab Lounge in Central Square, Cambridge. She started showing up at the open mic, and her poems were always memorable, sharply drawn, with language that crackled. They stood out starkly from the discursive ramblings that so often pass for poetry only because we say it is poetry and nobody can say it is not poetry, to quote William Carlos Williams. We often talk as if there are two sharply divided camps in poetry, the page poets versus the stand-up poets. What there really is a spectrum. At one end, the people who care about only how their poems work on the page. At the other end, those who care only about how they work in front of an audience. The vast majority of poets, however, would like to have it both ways, although most of us lean more in one direction than the other. Personally, my ultimate poem would be one that would get a 29.7 at the National Poetry Slam and then be published in Poetry Magazine. I haven't written that poem yet, and neither has anyone else. But when I have to choose between the two poles, I inevitably lean toward the stand-up side. After hearing some of her poetry, I had Rachel pegged as leaning more toward the page side, and I was surprised when she started slamming. I was even more surprised when she started winning, and I was stunned when she made 2 consecutive National Slam teams and won the title of Champion of Champions at the Cantab, a title which is attained only after a long series of open slams, semifinals, seasonal championships, and finally a head-to-head for the title. In my experience of poetry slams, it should not be possible to achieve that kind of success without making many more compromises than Rachel makes. I preach the gospel of meeting your audience halfway with your material. Rachel is a heretic. She makes no concessions in her material. Instead, she performs it with a passion that compels the audience to come to her. In all the years I've been slamming, I've never seen anyone succeed at this to the degree that Rachel Hyman has. For the last couple of years, Rachel has won a wonderful monthly poetry reading at BU, where she has had spectacular features. In addition to her poetry, she's an extremely talented graphic artist, a brilliant scientist, and a knowledgeable carpenter. And she knows a fool when she sees one. As much as I love the Cantab, I have to admit that occasionally somebody gets up there who's awfully bad. I have given Rachel standing orders not even to glance in my direction when that happens, because that's all she has to do to crack me up. We slammers believe that all poetry criticism should be written in magic marker. Rachel has taken it a step further. She can write it with a glance. But this is stand-up poetry, and we don't talk about poetry here, we do it. Stand-up poetry is proud to present a woman of protean talents, the Cantab's Champion of Champions, and the giver of the best hugs on the poetry scene, Rachel Hyman. Please give her your warmest Billerica welcome.
Phascolarctos cinereus, 3 a.m. I classify that sound. You snore like a koala bear. You're not a bear, I know, marsupial. 2 thumbs per hand, a vestigial tail, 19 vertebrae, 13 ribs. You live in a different state. Drove here to solicit solace. Slumber loudly. I whisper your name. When it doesn't work, I grab your nose until your mouth admits air. You roll the other way, pull my arm around you, settle your body into the curve of my lap. I've been told koalas can't sit on the ground. Their rumps are thickly padded, made to snuggle in the crook of tree bark. Bones spire from their hips to support pouches. They sleep for 18 hours a day, the drowsy narcotic of gum leaves. In the midriff of morning, our knees wrapped in blankets, you tell me, nice tummy. Yours is furry. Your right eye pries open to glare as arms wrap torso, nose buried in my shoulder like eucalyptus, mumbling something about predators. Poems. Occasionally, koalas climb telephone poles. Flustered by wiring, exiled. If you disappear tonight, I will cling to your silhouette. Blame deforestation, unrecycled paper, how I might have spooked you. I wonder if we are endemic. If outside this apartment I will find scratched tree bark, muddy paws. Or have the placentals destroyed our kind already? We wake, swallow defenseless smiles, hunt thicker fur, endangered. We wait to be shook from sleep, this awkward silence in the trees. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe your snore mispronounces Aboriginal language. Vascularcto scenarius sounds like a linguistic mistake. If I could have 3 a.m. back, smothered in snoring, hands running across thick hatch, the slick of morning might let us be. If I knew what to say, I would say it.
When the Pope sends out an encyclical to all the churches of the world, he has to send it out in Latin, and when it arrives at each church, it gets translated into the native language of the place. Sometimes these encyclicals have to invent words that did not exist when the Romans were speaking Latin. So somebody in the Vatican has to invent Latin words that mean what they probably would have meant to the Romans. But take that. The poem will explain that a little bit better than I just did. It's a poem about an actual dream I had. It is called Finto Fintare. I woke up 4 a.m. from a dream of coining a Latin verb. The way men who have gambled for a chance to serve God actually make words up in the bowels of the Vatican in order that pronouncements might be made in a dead language about occasions of sin implicit in emerging technologies. Television is rendered something like that which is seen over a distance by means of electricity. And electricity itself comes out, the lightning that runs through wires almost at the same time. In my dream, I took the slang word fin for $5 bill and the Latin verb suffix to, which means that what is being done repeatedly or intensely. And I created finto fintare, which could only mean habitually to pay for things with $5 bills. Being awake, I went to the bathroom. Latin always had a word for that. Maybe it was a career guidance dream.
This is called urban renovation. Duplexes on Park Heights Avenue stand barren. Drooping eaves clog gutters. You remark their yards redeem them. No seeping asphalt. I can't envision you planting tomatoes in paint-flaked dirt. Garden beds of smashed 40s and old needles. There's not much to make of this. Without idealism carving new marble stoops, spreading peat moss over unmarked graves. What could we grow here but poison? Roots would spit toxins into vegan potlucks. Leaves absorb light filtered by West Side smog. Stems beg mercy from rats. You, green-thumbed, would you remain past planting? How deep would your hands sink in the soil before it sunk back? Dirt that fathoms the forfeit of urban renewal could singe your skin with its own racism, slip something stronger into your blood. How many harvests will you endure while the land recounts its memory? The race from aquifer to sky. Chemical spurs will loiter in our herbs, maladies and pestilence not eradicated. What line drawn in the silt will stumble you, send you slouching towards less hostile terrain. Tomatoes will burst weak wire cages, drip their hearts onto concrete and wait for rain to wash them into gutters, carry seeds away. The worms in the squash might eat us alive, but don't proclaim to me what you'll plant here, afraid of the landscape, corridors locked, because this jungle is built for rooted things, ancient and patient, edging slowly for that single shaft of sun.
Sex and real estate. There will be a quiz at the end of this poem. Amid all the enjoinders to have a great summer, all the "it's been great knowing yous," my friend John Trimpe decorated my yearbook with an inked drawing of a condom and the directive, "Use 'em." I didn't much. It was a while before I had occasion, and pretty soon I was married, and the Catholic Church took exception. All the years of my first marriage, we lived in rented apartments. We loved our kids unreasonably, but with one, then two, then three, we never got far enough ahead to scrape together a down payment for a house. In a Doonesbury cartoon of that era, an ad agency has been directed to come up with a commercial for condoms, but because of public sensitivity, they're not allowed to use the word condom, so they just substitute the word condo. In the last panel of the cartoon, a robber baron is watching TV with his son, and they see that commercial which ends, "Condos, use them in good health." The son asks, "What does sex have to do with real estate?" The robber baron answers, "Everything." In the 12th century, the Catholic Church had a problem. Priests who in those days were allowed to marry were dying and leaving their estates to their wives and children. The Church faced the crisis squarely by instituting celibacy. It must have seemed like a great idea at the time. Now, in the 21st century, the Church is selling off property to compensate the victims of its pedophile priests. Now it's time for your quiz. What does sex have to do with real estate? A little louder, please.
Everything.
Thank you very much.
He fed me overripe peaches on the edge of a paring knife, the flat of steel pressed against my tongue, the kind of boy who might slice open my cheeks if summer weren't so tranquil, so permitting. Juice made his hand sticky. He didn't need to know my name. You are not that kind of danger. You don't even eat fruit. A knife in your hands would never peel my jawline, could never bring itself to slice a permanent smile where fresh skin once curved to your palms. We are two halves of a sphere of uranium. Hold them in separate hands, harmless then, and the world will last until something else attacks. But if those slices meet for an instant, they will reach critical mass. There is a flash that forgets all names. Barely the size of a peach. That's all it takes for everything left behind to be obliterated, all dread faced alone to vanish. You are the kind of danger that doesn't drip in my chin without fair warning of the apocalypse, and I am the half with the pit, watching sharp blades feed you raw and overripe to nameless mouths open without fear. I am the half that would survive the explosion to find you burnt away and the world in ruins.
Car Talk 2, Catholics and Car Thieves. I got out and walked around to get something out of the passenger side. The door handle came off in my hand. Things happen with old cars, but this is serious because the key doesn't work in the driver's side. And we had already grown accustomed to entering by the passenger door, reaching across to unlock the driver's door, getting out and walking around, and we don't hold that against the car. If there's one thing we Catholics understand, it's forgiveness. But now I have to worry about that car thief whose eccentricity is that he lights up when he lays eyes on a 12-year-old Plymouth Horizon, and who, although he balks at entering cars with locks, nonetheless knows how to hotwire one that starts reluctantly even when you have the key and have somehow achieved the driver's seat. We're going to have to leave the door unlocked. And the obvious choice would be the driver's door, but to me that seems too blatant an occasion of temptation. No, I think the unlocked one should be the rear door on the passenger side. That way our crackpot crook would have to enter there, reach forward to release the passenger side front door, get out, get in again, reach across to unlock the driver's door, get out, walk around, all this before he gets to strip even one frayed wire. Somewhere in that process, even the most confirmed criminal might pause to cross-examine his conscience and ask the existential question, why? Why am I doing this? Why do I even want this car? For quick getaways? I don't think so. Once he starts asking questions, anything can happen. Miracles can happen. Because if there's one thing we Catholics understand, it's redemption. He might see St. Christopher watching over him from the dashboard and think about how clean he used to feel at 13, walking out of confession late on a Saturday afternoon in fall, and wonder where it all went wrong. He might see my wife's picture and recall the beautiful girl he loved when he was 17. He was so sure she wanted him to call, but certain that if he did, she'd break his heart. He might say, what the hell? And borrow a quarter from the well between the seats, back out, make his way to a payphone, and try that well-remembered number. And she might cry into the phone and sigh, I've waited so long. And this time, she will go out with him. And this time, she will break his larcenous, goddamned heart, and he'll kill himself and burn in hell for all eternity. Because if there's one thing we Catholics understand, it's hell.
Smooth as bleached countertops, we wait all night in the chrome of 2 a.m. Our honesty paid for in advance. Order tea and toast. She knows recipe to heal me. Sugar, butter, spice, and jam. Becky is my roots. Her roots the hue of cinnamon, bleached blonde since 4th grade. Orders strawberry shake. Tells me life would be sweeter if I took her advice. Pause. Adjust bra strap. Flick ash into glass. End pause. Date stupider boys. Insatiable lovers with secrets will respect yours. They know freedom firsthand, not concerned with well-known books and theories. Her boyfriend drives white pickup truck in the parking space outside. He knows how to worship her, listens for soft noises, is steadily amazed. She talks of the last one. He walks 7 miles in the middle of the night from his house to her driveway, slipped silent cigarettes in her mailbox so her alarm could wait 10 more minutes, just to save her the trouble. Some nights she'd watch him cry in his sleep, never asked, just wrote poems he never heard. Becky eats toast with butter and sugar, no cinnamon, not necessary. She spoke in sestinas for a week once to prove that she could. When I say she understands me, I mean sugar and butter. No delay with everything nice. She waits for the arms that wake her stocked with grit to hold her tighter, pretend the nightmares are through. Never shortchanged for experience. Toast is a matter of what we can afford. How much we spent before dinner time. Priorities that set experience above sustenance. Love was never a thing she wasted on tame intellects. Never an out-of-pocket expense or penciled-in credit line. She spends time, spends words when life is worth more than lost memory. Tells me not to waste ink on boys who couldn't survive one of our nights. So when you get a chance, could you bring our bread? We'll crack crust caught between scorched and raw. Slather it with smashed fruit or sugar and butter. Never pretend, margarine, fiction. We have more than pocket change to offer this world, more than broken hearts and breadcrumbs to cry over. Laments and diner confessionals will not live for us. Just fill grumbling stomachs. And then, poet, tell me what you actually know.
Car Talk 5, the driver card. Next, the driver's door denied me when I tried opening it from inside. Made me wonder what sin I'd committed in what prior incarnation to have so much karma. As long as someone's with me, I'm okay. I get in, reach across, let them in. When we arrive where we're going, they get out, walk around, let me out. Somebody's roundabout way of showing no man is an island, maybe. Not exactly limo, but no problemo, baby. Problemo comes when I'm someplace alone and have to wriggle across to the passenger door, shoving my detritus from the seat to the floor like some clumsy Michigan militiaman, bones riddled with arthritis, playing at war. They don't make cars like this anymore. Oh, I know we're going to have to replace this caricature of a car, but the time's not right just yet. Promises to keep and all. Unless we could get someone to buy this one for more than just its parts. And it does run, bless its battered heart. It has miles to go. It could be good for someone who could just get in and out of it. Houdini, maybe. Picture me saying to some wary prospect, "Sure, we can take it for a spin, Harry. And to sweeten the deal, I'm going to bring you in through the hatchback, so you get a feel for all the cargo space." Say that with a straight face. The doors work well when it's warm and dry. They must be riddled with rust. Sometimes when it's bitter cold, they amaze by opening first try. But then they won't stay closed because the spring on the latch is frozen. All you do on those occasions is drive with one hand, hold the door closed with the other, turn the heat up high until the spring thaws. Don't break any speed laws, but no cause for concern, my brother. But did I mention that the heater's gone on this one? This is starting to sound like an automotive Twilight Zone or a Zen koan about the connectedness of things. No wonder the Japanese are so good at automaking. All those years of contemplating the sound of one windshield wiper scraping. What I need is a shogun riding shotgun. The day is going to come when I can't get out of the car at all. A new spin on the word incarcerated. They say that if you're ever knocked off a bridge into deep water, all you have to do is roll the windows down and let the river in. That equalizes pressure and the door will open easily. That's plan B. I think what we need to equalize is time, so that the car and I crap out at exactly the same moment. That way all you'd have to do would be dig a hole in front of us, give us a shove, say a few prayers, read that poem about love, cover us up and walk away, pay a Dixieland band to play Didn't He Ramble, and at the first payphone call AAA and tell them they can take me off speed dial and keep the change.
Blade scrapes on sharpening stone. Oil disappears beneath rock skin, birds build on opposing planes. His hands were twice the size of mine. I could hear him breathe in the kitchen, always afraid the soft wheeze would stop. He never forgot to do this. 2 a.m. on the kitchen table, he'd sharpen knives and read Reader's Digest editions from the 80s. Scratches on curved edge of carving tool. Tired wrists won't arch in right rhythm. I can't remember how he did it. The shame of relearning in sophomore printmaking class, never sure when to stop, when the blade is finished. His widow answers the phone and asks me outdated news of my life. The kitchen table is in a different house now. I wonder how many years until I forget to call her on her birthday, until no one tells her the old news. When will my little brothers not recognize my voice? Their voices will start to sound like his. They'll keep staying up all night long. Sharpening a chisel, pushing it horizontally across the stone, I hear his hunting knives. Feel my forearms swell with the repeated motions, coarse, smooth, razor-sharp edges, sore wrists. I wonder how many years until I will forget about art altogether. Let the blades dull and rust. Stay home and cry.
Message for a daughter. Your mother's grandmother was something of a legend in Westwood. When I met her, she had lots of visitors at the old farmhouse. Eileen and Ann, Maud Good, the pastor, Monsignor Norton, Black Mike and his family. They were all filled with stories about the way she used to dance, the sharp tongue, wicked with brogue. By the time she died, they had all stopped coming because they were not welcome anymore. One by one, they had all offended her. I don't know, maybe by saying something generous about an enemy. But if she'd ever had the power to forgive, it was one of the many things to go before she did. And you have, on your father's side, one who has often said, not without a trace of pride. I don't get resentments. I leave people for dead. After your mother and I broke up, there came a time when I was trying to write something constructive about relationship. And I wrote myself into a corner where I had to answer the question what the most important quality a person could bring to a relationship might be. And I suddenly saw it had to be forgiveness. That the closer we get, the more we're doomed to let each other down a dozen or 100 times a day. And unless those disappointments can be washed away, they accumulate like barnacles on a hull until any careless contact draws blood. And finally, there's nothing left of our relationship but a floating host for parasites, a ghost with all sails set and all hands scarred and disappeared. And having seen this, I felt I had acquired a fundamental truth. And being of sound mind, I wanted to pass it on to you and to tell you one more time in passing how much I love and admire you. So brilliant and so beautiful and so alone. But I was afraid you'd think it was, I don't know, self-serving or pleading for an enemy or both.
Off the tip of Cape Cod, the ocean floor rises to a shelf. Cold waters from the Gulf of Maine surge up ledges. Atlantic humpback whales sift such swells for plankton. They dive deep beneath tourist ships come to see their sanctuary. The Sunday before your funeral, boats left from the second slip of the aquarium docks at noon, 3, and 5. From the top deck, I leaned over railings, searched far distance for the halos of row spouts, and when the engines cut, water morphed from the crests of EKG machines to the white lace of low wake zones. A juvenile calf twirled off the starboard bow while its mother arched her back, dark skin gleaming with salty water, rose wide fluke above surface, and plunged with full lungs for a long dive. It took 10 days for you to die, for life to drain without explanation. Unseen viruses to harpoon your heart, wrestle you into coma, sink you underground. Monday morning, City Baptist Church of Baltimore overflowed. Humidity crowded the rafters, amplified the resonance of gospel choirs. From the balcony, I could only cry. I didn't know the words to sing. Preachers spoke of you dancing in these aisles. 21 years, Kim never missed a beat. She always did the right things, would find sanctuary now. The only reconciliation for the living was a faith from which you never faltered. They know you are full and safe. Hear your voice echo off these stone walls. Women in the pews below lift their hands, palms spread to the heavens, shirts sticky on their sweaty backs. They shout, are moved by mighty muscles undefined. Extinction is not an option for the strong-willed, the grief-stricken. We'll never know what happened to you, what data went unnoticed, what microscopic organisms invaded your body, saturated you with final moments until we are forced to adapt. Our hands must become dorsal fins. Skin shall toughen. We will return to open water, breathe more consciously, plunge into darker tides, and search every horizon for the warm spray of your lead.
A couple of things you need to know about this poem. Seth is my stepson. A ney is a traditional Persian flute. And the Music City Cafe is a place in St. Paul, Minnesota, where they used to have an open mic on Monday nights. This is called Song of the Open Mics. When Seth played his ney in the open mic at the Music City Cafe, we recalled as telling us the long, slow process it had been to win the instrument's consent to utter any sound at all, because it seemed at first as though this would be a throwback to that earlier time. He tried and tried to blow, but no sound came, and so he called for water, sipped a moment while the audience shifted and whispered like fallen leaves, then picked it up again and strained down into it, looking a little desperate, till finally the long flute sounded. and the audience went silent from embarrassment to respect at the long, slow notes like whales, like nothing I had ever heard except the songs of whales. And no one knows why whales sing so, only that their songs are long and slow, and they never repeat the chorus exactly the same way twice. Whales have large brains, much larger than they would seem to need for lives that, with all due respect, must be described as simple. Swim, swallow plankton, surface every so often to breathe and blow. Once in a great while, mate. When you feel sand pushing you up out of the water, back off. Have I left out anything? It's a principle of evolution that things unnecessary for survival fall away. So what's the point of all that brain? Well, there's another principle that says when you've got two unanswered questions, try letting one answer the other. And some scientists have suggested that perhaps the big brain and the long song are connected. I like that idea. There are chambers in my brain that went unopened until poetry. I can survive from 9 to 5 without using everything between my ears. Hey, some of my ideas endanger me. A while back, my co-workers were going out to celebrate meeting in October our target profit for the year, and I wanted to shake them and say, listen, this is a celebration of the combination of how much we do and how little they pay. Why don't we work for half as much? Then we could celebrate in May. But I back off till I get here, where such ideas won't get me fired. If whales were people, they'd be here too, listening to our long, slow, necessary songs, being politically correct, applauding ideas of mutual respect like Save the Whales. This, the song I heard in the open mic at the Music City Cafe when Seth played his ney. Seth, never known to play anything the same way twice.
Baltimore. I am sun-bleached. Broken shipwrecks blister cadmium yellow over cool sand shadows, and I know I look like driftwood to you. But I am shipwrecked, swollen with salt water on these foreign shores, baking like shells of what I knew. And you are taken safe from savage. I try not to splinter from your words, but I have no anchors anymore. I leave no wake, worn down by ocean swells, left to read what future tells, so please speak slowly. Let me hear you say that you see no salt in my skin, how the sun has not stripped me of moisture, that I can rebuild my hull and push out with high tides. Tell me fishermen's tales about ghost ships that still sail, or the catch bigger than the space between your thumbs. I will tell you of other lives. Sun-bleached I am, with veins like interstates, my mind a full tank of unleaded, at my feet a city trying not to split in half, but the beltway pulls tight across her hips, and yes, I am standing on her shoulders for height, rendering her face in harsher light, but don't tell me there were no passionate poor in her ghettos, 8 of her schools weren't closed as 120 more officers spilled onto her east side streets. Don't tell me her children cannot rise on bare feet, because I've seen them ride uphill on rattling metal rims when there were no tires to be found. I've seen them standing in soup lines on frozen ground and heard their talk of founding fathers. Pirates built her ships, dredged her harbors. Iron-sided schooners once brushed her thighs, but the factories are closed now, letting her brackish waters run clear, and her children are losing fear because they have lost all else. Let me tell you of other lives. Far below sun-bleached shores are creatures without bones. They mold to fit beneath broken homes, shoot ink at dangerous things, roll tentacles over rocks and prey. I want to hear you say that things go crooked in the dark, that weather-worn ship ribs grow sharp, and what lies beneath the breakers is still unknown. We are all oceans from home, because I am not safe, as you are not savage. And descendants of pirates are still fit to ravage these shores, and any others they might find, because they are not the belonging kind. We belong to them too. Your podium is not made of driftwood, but heartwood. I may be shipwrecked, but not undone. I will not lose my sea legs. You tell me to shun my fears of rough waters. Storms will come. We are all sun-bleached, lost at sea, at the mercy of sightless, lightless creatures brewing in the deep, festering inaccessible on the ocean floor. Here is my refusal to let you describe me. I'm no pirate dream, no falling shadow of what I seem. Reigning unstoppable, successor of iron sides, I will not be worn down by tides.
Now this is called Denver. Some days are a lot better than others, but on balance right now, life is awfully good. So much so that sometimes I think back to being escorted in handcuffs through the teeming Denver railway station, doing my best James Dean in an effort to make it appear that the hopelessly clean-cut airman at the other end of the cuffs is in my custody rather than I in his. I imagine being introduced today to that feckless runaway boy as his future, that I might recount to him all the blessings, mixed and unmixed, that are in store for him, like the vision of Rome Aeneas got the time he was considering life with Dido. Like that, except in this case, the point would be to stop the boy from suicide. But I know that he'd just shake his desperate head and say, "No, it's a trick. You can't get there from here." And anyway, he was to botch the suicide. And now, for her final poem, please, a very special welcome for Rachel Hyman.
So this is Jack's favorite poem of mine. 1 second is the duration of 9,192,631,770 cycles of a certain oscillation of the hyperfine transition of cesium-133. But you had me before that. See, gravity is direction defined on surface of this planet. Its fluctuations reveal true nature of underground domains. My misaligned motion is based upon your Earth Diver breath. The world spins like a top, so don't assume elastic collisions. One must always begin with indigenous understanding. We function within air resistance. Atmosphere will one day tear apart the moon. Luna's face screams prophecy of that dark litany, lacking entirely the alchemy of your smile. I watch your mouth move. Force my pulse to recall that the farthest astronomers can see is 1.5 times 10 to the 10th light years, not 1 moment into the future. And I am an articulate poet-type girl who can have conversations with beautiful boys. Though Newton calculated the crassitude of air, I will try not to talk trash like usual. And shaking your hand, some formal introduction, I think of tungsten bulbs. Touching tends to ruin them. Let me make dark lines for forces. I'll try not to leave the 2-pi out this time. I just want to know your name. These are everyday space physics. I see you like number 7 on a 16-hour problem set transformed to extra credit to find the value of theta. The angle at which I should approach your approach is to know where ratios of components of vectors finally equate to 0. This is the derivative of what I want to say. A level of calculus that can't be explained without pictures. This will not let us fly to the moon without a pilot, but a compromise prolonged becomes convention. I don't want to stop looking into your eyes. Admittedly, celestial bodies are stupidly heavy. Conversations with radiant strangers are set up with harmonic oscillator potential. That is, when pushed through a tunnel spanning the center of the Earth, they travel back and forth without end. The universe, by the way, is neutral. We are the ones with coiled stomachs and iron cores. In that time before batteries, our tongues were devices that made big sparks. We are meant to be breaking circuits, making alternating fields to provide the medium sound needs to travel, mesmerize each other until the ice waters down our drinks, until animal magnetism becomes real science, until time recedes to Babylon and we can redefine the second as the time it took for our eyes to lock. that moment between gaze and electric current.
Wonderful. I do love that poem. I love that line. You had me before that. That's wonderful. One of the most popular features of our show has always been the open mic segment. Today we have a first-time reader for the open mic, and I would like to invite him up now. Ken Matthews. Is Ken here? Please welcome him.
The Scarred Birch. My longtime friend, I am so glad. It was for you today I searched. If you were gone, I'd be so sad. Upon your limbs, birds are still perched. I came to say that I regret the lasting harm I caused you, and I never did forget. There are things time cannot undo. I was a young boy back when, to me you were but a tree. I did not think of you then, as I cut your precious white bark free. I used it to make a toy canoe, a task I did not do too well. I had some fun for a day or two, but it is of you since then I dwell. My father saw what had been done and asked if I had peeled your bark. I could not lie. Yes, I was the one. He replied, you have left your mark. I saw a sadness in his eye. My mother was as sad as he. They explained to me that you might die, and a scar would forever be. Your white bark is your beauty. It never grows back on a birch tree. I was as sad as I could be. You were now scarred because of me. I returned to check on you and saw that you did truly bleed. There was something I had to do, for I had caused your time of need. I came back again to help you live, and I wiped your injury dry, shellacked it, hoping that would give enough hope so that you would not die. In time I saw that you did heal. Your wound is covered over now, but your scars are so very real. You lived, though I do not know how. I learned and grew from my crime, so deep my feelings have run. Some things seem fun at the time, but cause harm that cannot be undone. You bear your scars where all can see. Your scars, there is no way to hide. My scars, I bear internally, where they torment my sense of pride. I wanted to come and tell you how you forever left your mark on me. I have grown. I'm a better man now, and you are so much more than a tree.
2 or 3 years ago, a friend of mine said to me, you know that poetry program on DATV? It's very nice, but why is it that all of your poems are so solid? Today, in an effort to lighten up, I shall attempt to recite for you one of my little jingles. Now, if this bit of poetry or nonsense had a title, it would have to be, It Happens That Way, Growing Old. Oh, my youthful days, filled with ambition, underwent a small transition, and I perceive that my lost youth shall not return. But for those old days, so entrancing, with their laughter and romancing, I do not yearn. Still, there must be something, even today, something for me, some fulfilling work to star me. Any old job would fill my heart with pride. Yet if I look for gainful employment, someone pipsqueak finds enjoyment in saying to me, well, you're overqualified. Ha ha, de ho ho. So, I sit at home and scribble. I accept my fate without a quibble. Although a brilliant fiction writer, I am not. But who cares? My kitchen is warm and cozy, and the window blooms a posy, and my supper is a simmering in the pot.
My poem is entitled, Life is Laundry and a Bath. Wash it, wear it. 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 It covers you. A cover-up. New shirt, hold torn, soiled underwear, underarm in the crotch. Dirty body, clean shirt, ring around the collar, noose around the neck and the making. What to believe? Clean body, torn pants, missing buttons, shining knees. Tear in the shirt, frayed collar, faded color. Clean sheets, dirty PJs. Dirty PJs, clean sheets. What to believe? Dirty body, whore's bath. What to believe? Sunday best, do devil's bidding. Sunday's preaching, devil's teaching. What to believe? Three-piece suit, gravy stain on the tie, a burn hole in the trousers, empty watch pocket, shirt covers scar, scar uncovers memory, shirt covers tattoo, tattoo, echo of the past, herald of the present. What to believe? Wash and wear, dryer, line dried, no iron, wrinkled, faded tee, washed out blue jeans, and $1 million in the bank. Tommy Hilfiger, and a hole in my sock. What to believe? Tea, no belt, torn, stained, baggy pants, $150 Nikes though. Baseball cap on backwards. A strikeout or strike it rich? What to believe? Body odor, ode to life or aromatic therapy? Wash it, wear it, wash it, wear it, wash it, wear it. What to believe?
Thank you, Richard Hyatt. Now I'd like to invite someone who has not been a stranger in this on this show or to the Cantab. No, you don't have anything today? Simone, well, come on up and do one that you had by heart, please. Please, it's so good to see you. Please welcome Simone Beaubien. Oh, please. I just assumed. Forgive me.
That's okay. That's the trouble with slamming. You get all these poems that you know by heart, and then people want you to come do them. I've done this piece here before, so you'll all be in the same boat as Rachel, because she's sick of it too.
I'm not sick of anything. I'm sick of nothing.
I recently attended the second wedding for a very close friend, so I guess this is appropriate. It's called Undressing in Drag to a Friend's Wedding. My father's wedding suit fits me like a glove. I'm told girls covet their mother's wedding dresses, but I wore that dress when I was 5 months young, just a twinkle in the barrel of my granddaddy's shotgun. I peered out my mother's navel and saw through silken screen my father in a cream white polyester dream. White tie and tails on pants so tight you could count the stems in the dime bag in his back pocket, tapered to the knees and then flare to huge white wedding bell bottoms. 1977 was a good year for polyester. 1977 was a good year for men in white. A good year to bring your baby girl up right. See through that daddy can do laundry and does make dinner, and mommy will always make more money because she's smarter, not thinner. My mama was a daddy's girl. My daddy was a mama's boy. My mama taught me how to cuss. My father taught me how to cry, and I saw them both do each the day John Lennon died. There was a man who looked great in a white suit all the way till 1980. I might have become bitter then, but I was 3. When I was 3, I had no hair. My mother tells stories of strangers who approach her and say, "What a beautiful boy," and she just stopped correcting them, not caring what strangers think. I was just your average little kid who liked cookies and trouble and making big, muddy messes, and that, frankly, is the reason she gave up on having me wear dresses more than twice a year, Christmas and Easter. And by the time I was 9, put my foot down, wouldn't wear one to either, and she said, "Fine, wear what you like." And nobody said her grade schooler looked like a dyke. By the time I was 12, I wouldn't talk to girls. I thought they were weird and mean. I was reading those magazines on how to get a man and how to lose weight, and I didn't understand how to be like them until it was too late. I don't mind. I just sometimes wish I could go back in time and tell myself, okay, that's what it's like to be a girl, but this is what it's like to be the woman who kisses first, the woman who carries the car keys. Rapunzel has left the building. She let her hair down a long time ago. She was waiting on nobody. And if this is what it's like to be a lesbian, well, go me bitch and buy me combat boots, because this suit fits me like a glove. Like a glove with an extra finger. Like there's a space where something I don't have should fit. And now that I think of it, that's what's missing. My date. This suit is a role that's meant to be played. I don't have to be gay or male or bi to imagine there's no gender. It isn't hard to do if you were raised like I was, and I'll put on the suit like a girl puts on a wedding ring or a new last name, except I'm not marrying anything. I am still dating all of the possibilities that could be me, and so a tie on my neck or a girl on my arm cannot make me more or less myself. I am simply dressing in this suit. I'm not looking to fill my father's shoes, but I can put his pants on one leg at a time. It's not a question of how, so don't tell me I've got Oedipus standing at my elbow, because when this wedding's over, I can ask my friend, the bride, to dance. She'll have to lead, but I don't mind, because it's not about who wears the pants.
Never get tired of that poem, Simone. Thank you so much for doing that. Rachel, come here a minute. We have a little ceremony we do on this show. Hold out your hand, please. Palm up. Can you read that?
New evidence against all odds of how much someone loves me.
I want one of those hugs. Thank you very much. Listen, we may have a couple of minutes here. Will you do one more poem, please?
Sure, go on.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, okay. I got that one. Rude etymology. It's for Liz, who will deny anything in this poem as being factual. Fressen is German, means eating in the manner of an animal like devour, not essen, to eat in the manner of a man. My German teacher wanted me to distinguish the civilized verb form, regarded my wordplay as good reason to give me a C in German, a polite way to ask not to take his class. Liz was dressed like an angel because it was Halloween, not for irony of which there would be none. We were in Baltimore, which is mostly irony because Becky's Halloween parties are reason enough to come home. Baltimore is known for its crabs. Crabs live on trash. Liz sees Becky's friends as bottom feeders, tries not to place me among them. Becky's mother speaks German because her parents did. Liz's parents are farmers in Iowa. They use words derived from German. Farm animals are named differently when alive, dead, or being eaten. Becky's friends don't like being told their hamburgers were once cows. They use language unaware. When I learned German, it was to understand Becky's larger clawed friends. They spoke German because they were Nazi skinheads. Becky's mother didn't like them. Liz tells me there aren't Nazis in Iowa. I argue the presence of civilization is also questionable. She scowls. Few of the Nazi skinheads made it to college where I met Liz. None of them were at the party where Becky and her boyfriend were making out on the couch next to Liz. To kiss in German is küssen. Animals kiss with the same verb as humans. Her rings had been left on the floor next to the beer cooler, so they could not emphasize her back turning towards the couple. Liz told me she thought they were going to eat each other alive. I said they kissed like it derived from devouring. Kissing comes from the act of feeding, as in a mother bird chewing for its hatchling. There is no word in German to distinguish kissing like Becky from kissing like Iowa. Words aside, there's practice. People in Baltimore, Baltimoreans, are raised eating crabs, slurping mussel from shell over spiced, cracking exoskeletons on paper-covered tables, mouths trained to suck steamed bottom feeders clean. That boy thinks Becky is the best taste in the world. Liz thinks these kids are white trash. She likes their pickup trucks because they remind her of home, but is still afraid when they speak to her. Liz's family keeps an entire frozen cow chopped up in their basement freezer labeled in English. They gasped when I told them I'm a vegetarian. When I told Becky's mother, she asked if I still ate crabs. I told her no. They would eat you, she said. The Nazi skins never knew I was Jewish. Liz is beginning to understand what I mean when I say I'm from Baltimore. Becky tells me my college friends seem wholesome, like a gallon of milk, but she left her wings in the kitchen. My only explanation to Liz, our skin hides harder shells. Baltimoreans have no intention of simmering carnal acts for the distinction of civilized conversation. Her suspicious look tells me I failed in translation again. Something about being polite.
Thank you, Rachel Hyman. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. This has been Stand-Up Poetry.
Sorry I messed with the koala pole.